Now, talking about drug charges, let's check in with Jodie Emery, who is the wife of pop activist Marc Emery. And welcome to the show, Jodie.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, so Marc is going to be surrendering himself to authorities on Monday for extradition to the U.S. So this is your last weekend together. That must be very tough on you.
It absolutely is difficult. Every day is just heartbreaking, knowing that in 1 week I'll be waking up alone and going to bed alone and unsure of his safety. And there are so many hundreds of thousands of families around the world, family members and wives and sisters and mothers who have lost their loved ones under these drug laws. I mean, Marc Emery, I want to remind people, he's a Canadian citizen who never went to the United States. He sold only marijuana seeds. He never sold drugs of any kind. And he did it all in Canada for over a decade and paid his taxes as a marijuana seed vendor. And they never charged him here. The worst punishment you can get is a fine or 1 month in prison for selling seeds. But when the United States decided to go after him, back in 2005, they had him arrested, and he was facing life in U.S. federal prison because of these mandatory minimum drug laws, which America has and which our conservative government is trying to introduce here in Canada. It means that even somebody who's like Marc Emery, who sells seeds, could get life in prison under 10-year charges for conspiracy and all the other things they stacked up on him. But people need to know that this is a man who never went to that country. My husband is being sent to a foreign country to be imprisoned in their federal system with dangerous people from other countries too. The worst part is that he's not even kept in a work camp or somewhere where non-violent offenders would go. There's prisons in America for foreigners, so all the Canadians and Mexicans and anyone from Central and South America, they're all put together in one big building, and that's a lot of cartel members and dangerous people. So I'm worried sick about my husband. I'm terrified about him being down there. He's a strong, brave, intelligent man, and I know he'll be okay. But what's happening is just a travesty and insulting to our sovereignty, and our government has abandoned him just as they abandoned so many Canadians abroad.
Do you feel like he's being used as a scapegoat for this?
Absolutely. In fact, we know he is. On the day that he was arrested, the Drug Enforcement Administration in the United States put out a press release. It said that Marc Emery is one of the leading activists and has a propaganda magazine. They said arresting him was a significant blow to the legalization movement. They said that hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on marijuana legalization groups active in the United States and Canada, and that drug lobbyists now have one less pot of money to rely on. And it is true, Marc raised all that money only to give it away. He's not a drug dealer. He didn't keep the money knowing that police would probably just take it if they wanted to bust him. The point of selling those seeds was to make millions of dollars to fund the anti-prohibition movement, because hundreds of thousands of people's lives are destroyed by sending them to prison when the use of marijuana and even the production of marijuana is totally safe. The only reason that maybe grow-ops are unsafe is because of prohibition. When you're trying to hide a plant inside a basement and give it light and water and nutrients, that could be unsafe. But it's the lack of regulation, it's the lack of oversight, it's the prohibition and the criminalization of marijuana that causes the problems with grow-ops, that allow young people to get drugs, that give drug cartels all the power and all the money. You know, I often say that drug prohibition finances organized crime, and we all know that's true. It's the same as alcohol prohibition. But politicians who support prohibition are supporting organized crime. Anyone who wants to continue keeping marijuana and other drugs illegal are ensuring that the money for those drugs, which will always be used, goes to drug cartels and organized crime. So would you rather have private industry and government and responsible companies taking care of these drugs and substances just as they do with everything at London Drugs or Shoppers Drug Mart? Or would you rather have drug gangs selling them to your children or contaminating them or getting you addicted and spending that money on weapons from the United States? I mean, this policy of prohibition is creating every single problem associated with drugs, and it's an absolute failure. It destroys people's lives. In fact, the Canadian Senate in 2002 was set to study drug prohibition and to find out whether it's working or not, and they found that the continued prohibition of cannabis jeopardizes the health and well-being of Canadians much more so than the substance does itself.
Now, are you going to be going down to the States with him?
Well, I hope to go down in Seattle when he's there. I'm going to be staying here in Vancouver, watching our store, taking care of everything while he's away. But what will happen first is on Monday, this upcoming Monday at 10 a.m., he will be in the BC Supreme Court for an extradition committal hearing, and then he'll be taken into custody and held here in Vancouver, possibly at North Fraser, until the Justice Minister of Canada, Mr. Rob Nicholson, signs the extradition order. And I would urge people to tell him not to keep Marc here, and if they feel he's guilty of a crime committed in Canada, then to charge him here in Canada with his peers, with our laws, with our prisons, not to send him away to some other country. And after Marc is kept here and the Justice Minister signs the extradition order, then he'll be sent down to Seattle. That could be a week up to 2 months. And then he'll appear in court there for a 5-year sentence deal that he's arranged. And the idea that we have is to get everyone to bring him back to Canada right away. Canadians used to be transferred back to Canada under our treaty transfer almost immediately within 6 months. But since the Conservative government came into power, they're refusing to bring back offenders, citing them as a threat to national security. It's absolutely absurd, and so I'm quite sure the Conservative government, which is no friend of my husband or mine, they will want to keep him down there, and they'll refuse his transfer.
So he could be gone for 5 years?
Yes, and
that's going to be so hard on you, Jodie.
I can't even imagine it. I mean...
How long have you been married?
We've been married since July 2006, and I've been here in Vancouver working with him and in love with him since early 2004. And both of us are finding this extremely difficult, and I hope I'll encourage a lot of other people to stand up and say this isn't right, because, you know, I'm somebody who can say my husband is in prison, but there are women out there who have lost their husbands, and they can't go around telling people their beloved husband is behind bars because there's a stigma attached to it, and it's absolutely unfair. I mean, a lot of people in jail are growing plants. And plants are not dangerous. Again, the only reason that there's any problem associated with plants and grow-ops is because they're illegal, and that there's people who are in the criminal underworld dealing with this criminalized substance. So let's bring it out from the criminal world. Let's make it legitimate. Let's regulate it. Let's have some oversight and safety, and that way we can treat it like everything else that's legal and safer. And in fact, there's a lot of things that are legal that aren't safe. We all know alcohol and tobacco kill people. Well,
now, Jodie, thank you so much for being on the show, and we wish you all the best. And what have you got planned for the weekend?
Well, we're just going to spend it together and enjoy every moment we have. And I hope everybody will go to our website, cannabisculture.com, for regular updates about where to contact him and what they can do to help bring him back, and tell our Conservative government to bring this Canadian citizen home.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. Jodie Emery, wife of pot activist Marc Emery, on the fact that, yeah, well, he's going to be surrendering himself to authorities on Monday for extradition to the U.S. She sounds like a smoker. Made me feel wheezy and asthmatic listening. Poor thing, though. It's her husband.
I feel bad.
I do. I feel really bad for her.
Pleading guilty to selling.
I know. I feel bad for her, and I feel, I feel bad for him.
Well, we'll check in from time to time.
Yeah, we will.
To see what's going on.
And she's young.
She's in her 20s.
Yeah, young.